everyone, it's Reagan and welcome back to another video. Today I have decided to do a book tag, throwing it back to one of my favorite bookish video categories, if you will. Today I'm going to be doing the reading habits book tag, which is essentially a collection of questions interrogating you on how you read. It's funny, when I was looking over these before filming, if I had done this when I first started my booktube career, my answers would be totally different than they are now. I don't know what has happened to me, but I have like turned into past self. I would have judged current me in the past hardcore, aka I now dog ear books. But anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. I do have the original creator linked down below, so be sure to check them out as well. But let's jump into question one. First question is, do I have a specific place in my home where I do all of my reading? So the funny thing about living in a New York City apartment that is 700 square feet, there's really only so many options at the end of the day. But I would say I definitely have two primary locales for reading. The first one is the couch, which has also been transformed into my office, my workspace, my reading space, my at-home TV watching space. So it's a very versatile, multi-purpose entertainment room. Well, there's only really one room section of the room, and that's probably where I do a large part of my reading. And then second to that would be my bedroom, in my bed before I go to sleep. I also do a bunch of reading there. I also read a lot in the bedroom because Clay likes to play video games, and so to kind of escape the noise of Call of Duty, I do read a lot in my bedroom as well. But again, that's literally, there's a bathroom, this room, and then my bedroom, so there's really only so many places to read. I have dreams of one day having a library of just like only bookshelves and comfortable chairs, and I'll just lounge in there, do all my reading. Or like a sunroom. Wow, a sunroom would be incredible. But until that day, I have a very comfortable couch and a very comfortable bed, and that's where I do my reading. Question two is, are you a bookmark or a random piece of paper person? I would say I'm both. So up until recently, bookmarks were my life. I had literally one bookmark for 7 years. I used in all of my books. I would carry it from book to book. I treasured it so dearly. I loved it so much, and then I lost it. And I would say the losing of this treasured, beautiful bookmark kind of sent me down a dark path of, I love bookmarks, and when I can find them, I use them every time. But for some reason, I have a terrible time now keeping track of bookmarks. And I love any type of bookmark, a paper one, a fancy one, a corner one, but I keep losing them, so then anything can turn into a bookmark. A letter, a pencil, I sometimes dog ear books. I one time used a electricity bill, which I would not recommend because again, I lose bookmarks, so then I lost the bill. We have since signed up for automatic payments online, which was, I guess, a good thing that resulted out of losing that. Where did that go? But generally speaking, I want to be a bookmark person. I was a bookmark person, but now I just use anything and everything if I can't find a bookmark, which is now often, unfortunately. Question three is, can you just stop reading, or do you prefer to stop at a certain page number or chapter? I would definitely say, like, obviously if my train is ending and I have to get off the train, I can stop reading anywhere, but I do definitely find satisfaction on ending on a whole number, so like a 0 or a 5, or a chapter end. I generally always try to read to a chapter and stop there. I really don't love stopping mid-chapter. One, because it's a little disorienting when you pick the book back up, and two, I don't know, I just like something in my brain just really wants to like have something be over before I carry on. I was this way in school too. I had a lot of reading to do for my degrees, and so I would have the same sort of mental process. I would have to stop at like a chapter mark or after like a certain section. I couldn't just stop mid-section. That is too much chaos for my brain to keep oriented. I definitely prefer having like structured reading allotments if I can help it. Obviously, the world doesn't always work out that way, but when I can, I definitely do that. Question four, do you eat or drink while reading? The answer is definitely yes. Coffee and flaming hot Cheetos have stained almost 75% of the books I have. There's just like little fingerprints of red hot dust throughout various books. Obviously, if I'm borrowing a book from someone or if I rented something from the library, I don't eat or drink while reading those because that is not my property. But for my own books, yes, I eat and drink. I love a snack while reading. I find it so pleasant. There is little better in the world than having a delicious flamin' hot treat while consuming a wonderful fantasy novel. I don't know. Judge me if you like, but if you borrow my books, watch out for the red hot Cheeto stains. Question 5, multitasking, music or TV while reading. I would say preference is no, but I'm also someone who can read and anything else can be going on around me. I have in my opinion, a very impressive talent of I could be distracted by nothing, and I think New York City has really made this the case because I would read on the train every morning and just be like a sardine surrounded by hundreds of people and just reading my book without a care in the world. I joke that the world could be ending around me, and if I didn't look up in my book, I wouldn't even notice because I am really able to fully concentrate while reading. I could be at a concert, I could be at a baseball game. It doesn't really matter, I could be reading there. So generally, I actually love listening to music while I'm reading. It's a great way to get my phone out of my hand, so I do that a lot, like really peaceful, chill music. Also, definitely read while watching TV. Commercial breaks are a great time to squeeze reading in during your favorite shows. That's just me. My brain does not get distracted by like various stimulus, so I can definitely multitask when it comes to reading. Question 6, one book at a time or multiple? I would say both in this as well. I think my general preference is one book at a time, and I think this has a lot to do with the type of books I read. I tend to read very long, dense fantasy novels, and I don't like to mix fantasy worlds if I can help it. Obviously there's a lot of rules, character, setting, place, and time to keep track of, and when I read two of those at once, I can keep them apart, but I don't enjoy the experience as much. That being said, I do tend to read more than one book at a time, mostly because I have a commute book and a normal like day-to-day book, but they tend to be very different genres. So when I am multi-reading, it tends to be like books from very different spaces so they don't overlap and get confused and muddled into my brain. But I would say my preference is one book at a time because I love to give my full heart and attention to one narrative story. But because I generally commute, obviously not right now, I do have a commute book and a at-home book, and my commute book tends to be an audiobook and recently has been nonfiction, which has been so nice. So I've actually really enjoyed juggling nonfiction and fiction. But right now, because I'm not commuting, I'm really reading one book at a time for the most part, if I can help it. It's really like one book to another. I tend to not like to read like 5 books at a time. I can't imagine juggling 5 books at a time. No. Question 7, reading at home or everywhere. I think I kind of already answered this. I could read anywhere. I prefer to read at home, but it doesn't matter where I am. I could get reading done. I used to, when I had an office job that was hourly and it would get really slow, I would read ebooks on the computer. I was a receptionist, so I'd read ebooks on the computer while I was waiting for people to come in. Don't tell my old boss, but you know, sometimes that would happen. I mean, obviously I'd get all my work done, but point is, I can read anywhere, everywhere, at all times. It's just a skill I have, but I do prefer to read at home. I find it a very relaxing, unwinding activity. But yeah, anywhere though. Next question is reading out loud or silently in your head. So here's the thing with this. I don't like reading out loud. I don't like people reading to me unless it's an audiobook, and even then I'm very particular with audiobooks. It has to be a narrator I find engaging, and it has to be like well executed. Otherwise I find it very distracting and I don't particularly like it. I know there's like a romantic thing people do with each other where they like read stories out loud to one another. I would hate that. It's just way too slow. I have my own voices, I have my own images like in my head, that having someone like read me a book, I'm just not into. So this is personal preference, but generally speaking, I read silently in my head. I do not read it out loud at all. I don't even like mouth the words to myself. I'm like very stone-faced when I read. And I don't particularly want anyone to read me a story. So, though I will definitely read my children Harry Potter one day, I didn't even really like my mom reading me books when I was a kid. Like, as soon as I was able to like get rid of her, I did, and I just collected my own Little House on the Prairie books and Series of Unfortunate Events and read alone in the solace of my bedroom. No one bothering me and no one reading to me. I have my own voices, thank you. Question 9 is, do you ever skip ahead or skip pages? So not usually. I'm definitely not someone who like reads the end first before reading a book. That is no way. Hello, no thank you. But sometimes I skip pages if I don't like the book, or like I'll skim read just to kind of like get the gist. Mostly because I'm not enjoying it or I don't think I'm gonna finish it. Like you know, if the book is not very good and there's just like a part that you feel like is unnecessary to the story or just like not very well executed, you can like skim read, you know, like fast read. I do that. I don't really like skip whole pages. I try to read every page if the book is bad, but skim it. But I never arbitrarily like skip ahead or skip pages just for the sake of doing it or to like see the end before I get there. No thank you to that one. Question 10 is breaking the spine or keeping it like new. Generally speaking, I take care of my books really well. I like having my books maintain their look. I also like to lend books out, so if I destroy, like, it just gives them a longer shelf life. That being said, there is one type of book that I just disregard all those rules entirely, and that's mass market paperbacks. I hate the reading experience of a mass market paperback. The font is too small, it's too hard to read. Like, there's no possible way of keeping a mass market paperback pristine because it's designed to just be destroyed. So with those, I definitely crack the spine, I turn the cover around. Otherwise, I just physically cannot read the book, and it detracts from my enjoyment of reading the story if I'm so focused on not cracking the spine. Because then you're literally reading a book like this much. You're like, what's happening? Like, it's impossible to not crack the spine. That's why I've shifted my mass market paperbacks to be ebooks, because I prefer that. And then the last question is, do you write in your books? And I would say no, not books I'm reading for fun. Obviously in school I would write in books or like highlight things as I was studying. But generally speaking, when I'm just reading for enjoyment, I'm just focused on taking in the story, and I'm not really like underlining or circling quotes or like doing sticky notes or things like that. I can definitely see the appeal, and I definitely don't think there's anything wrong with doing that. It's just not something I particularly like doing. It makes me feel like I would be doing like a school assignment versus reading. Like, part of my rebellious spirit is like, I'm reading this for fun, not for notes or something like that. So I don't think I would enjoy the experience of writing in a book, not because I don't want to like ruin the book, but because it feels then like a school assignment versus reading for enjoyment. But that's, again, like my own brain speaking there, but yeah, I don't write in books. Alrighty guys, that is the reading habits book tag. Let me know down below some peculiar reading habits you may have, as I would love to know, and I will see you guys soon with another video soon. Goodbye!